What's going on, everyone? Welcome back. Today, we're going to be doing another live fantasy football mock draft back on Yahoo, as you can see, but this time it will be an auction draft, 12-person league, half-point PPR format, as is standard for Yahoo. And before we get into the nomination process, quick reminder, if you haven't already, go ahead, check out the description and get yourself a copy of the 2019 ADP Fantasy Football Draft Guide. It's got everything you can want. It's got draft advice for snake drafts, for auction drafts like this. It's got player breakdowns, individual player bios, and much more. So go ahead, get yourself a copy now. And with that being said, let's go back into this draft because look, we've done some content so far in this offseason about the auction draft process. We've done some balanced drafts with the auction format. We've gone through pretty much the basics and advanced strategies as well for success in an auction draft. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and try out one of these strategies for you guys right now, and that will be an aggressive strategy. So basically, what we're going to do is right from the gate, we're going to try and get two of these top-notch running backs. So we all know the names, the Ezekiel Elliott's, the Christian McCaffrey's, the Alvin Kamara's, and the Saquon Barkley's, who Barkley just went for $70. I'm going to go ahead and try and get a combo of Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara, see how that goes. Hopefully it's successful, but basically, just so you guys know, I might overpay a little bit for these guys, but when we do get them, it's going to be a waiting process. That's what happens when you go really aggressive very early on, and especially to this extent, because this is on the extreme scale. Basically, we're going to have to go ahead and wait for very good value on these guys because we're not going to be able to go ahead and get another top-notch player for a while. So I'm going to go ahead and get a last-second bid in on Alvin Kamara, see if we can go ahead and steal him here. I don't know how many of these picks have been made by a computer, by an actual person, but it looks like we landed our guy in Alvin Kamara. So $70 right from the get-go. That hurts a little bit, not going to lie. But look, that's going to be the price for these top four guys. Maybe that value will be adjusted a little bit for an Ezekiel Elliott with the contract situation. But as of right now, I still expect him to suit up for week one. Obviously, the closer we get to the start of September, and if there's no resolution in sight, then we can go ahead and pretty much adjust those rankings, those expectations. So right now, I'm going to bid on Christian McCaffrey. We've got the winning bid at $69. And if that's the case, then we'll be golden. $69 for McCaffrey, $70 for Alvin Kamara. You know, I'm not gonna lie, we paid a lot of money. We paid a lot of money. We only have $61 left, but we said we'd go ahead and try and see how this works out for the sake of really evaluating this extreme side of the aggressive strategy. You know, for everyone that wants to go ahead and try this out, just keep in mind the handicap kind of situation that you put yourself in and how important it is for your later picks to really hit, because that's the biggest thing here. I love Kamara. I love McCaffrey. If something happens and one of those guys gets injured, you know, you can almost say that the season it's going to be in question very early on, very fast, if one of those guys gets injured, just because of how much money we spent. And that's why it's so important for our later picks to go ahead and hit, for us to get as much depth as we can, which again, it's going to be hard. So I'll tell you right now from the start, some of the names that we're probably going to be looking at, I'm going to keep scrolling down. Maybe a Julian Edelman, a Robert Woods, a Chris Godwin, even though they'll probably be in the more expensive category, Cooper Kupp. So obviously the standard value here for a Cooper Kupp is projected value $23, average cost 8.8. And what you expect to kind of happen at that point in time is a lot of people already having used a good amount of their budget And so you're going to get these guys for a discount. And that's the hope here. That's the hope if you go so aggressive early on. And obviously, I would say if you know the way your league acts in these types of auction drafts, that could be a huge advantage. If, they really don't let guys go for good values, if they are willing to pay up for later round talent, then maybe going ahead and paying up that much that early on for two top-notch running backs isn't the way to go, because you're just going to have a huge drop-off at every other position. And if one of those guys don't hit, then you're in serious trouble. Let's look at some of these other picks here. After our selection of Christian McCaffrey, Patrick Mahomes went for $28, Nick Chubb for $52, Zeke for $62, the cheapest out of all the top-notch running backs. And, it's kind of as you would expect. People right now a little bit cautious, don't know what to think, especially with the Le'Veon Bell situation from last year so fresh in people's minds. Zeke having said if he doesn't get a new contract, he's not playing. Personally, look, I think that the Cowboys are going to go ahead and give him a deal. I've said it before. I don't think Zeke will go ahead and miss significant time. So for that reason, I'd still go ahead and have Ezekiel Elliott as a first-round pick if we're talking about, a snake draft, for example. And as far as auction drafts, we'll have to go ahead and kind of see with auction drafts, it's usually how your league mates, the people you're drafting with, value that player. That's going to be the setting point of someone's price. So that's going to be the key there. But don't be someone that overpays for a player with serious question marks if they haven't been resolved, as was the lesson last year. So a player that would fall into that category, probably more so than in Ezekiel Elliott, just because, again, I think Zeke isn't as serious of a case maybe as in Melvin Gordon. Now, again, I think both those guys will ultimately suit up this season. But hell, that's what a lot of people thought last season with Le'Veon Bell. So don't ever say that we don't have storylines leading up to the start of the season. There's so many things to follow. The Zeke, Melvin Gordon, don't even get me started on Antonio Brown and his whole situation. Antonio Brown was a wide receiver one that I thought was giving great value for fantasy owners, but all the drama. This guy is an absolute world star, just nutcase with his frostbite, with his helmet demands. It's become a reality show. Hard Knocks gonna have a hell of an episode too when it airs in a couple of days. But for now, we can just go ahead and keep up with all this drama and adjust as much as we can accordingly. So it's our turn to go ahead and nominate someone. Speaking of Antonio Brown, I'm going to go ahead right now and nominate him. I know we're not going to get him, but since he was our last point of conversation, let's see how some other people feel about Antonio Brown. And I'll tell you right now, we have some people on auto draft, or some people that didn't join the draft when it started, so maybe some computers in the room. So we're going to see some overvaluing of players. That's the tough part about these mock drafts. At whatever point you're doing them, you're always going to have some type of computer. But that's the thing that I like with auction drafts, that even though there's a computer, it all comes down to personal budget management. That's more important than anything else. So depending on how you decide to construct your roster, just stick to your budget management plans. And if you can execute them properly, then you will be all right, whether you're drafting with computers or not. And you should be okay heading into your actual draft day scenarios, whatever they might be. Now, let's go ahead and see some of these other picks. We saw Antonio Brown go for $41. Before that, DeAndre Hopkins for $54. David Johnson for $65. Wow. I like David Johnson. I do. I'd probably go ahead and pick him 5th overall in a snake format. I've been saying that for a while. When this is all kind of settled and everyone is drafting in late August, early September, he's going to be a surefire top 6 pick. And the auction draft price is reflecting that without a doubt. So $65 for David Johnson. Actually went for more money than Ezekiel Elliott. That's very interesting. But again, I don't think that'll be the case for too much longer. Adam Thielen just got nominated. So it's interesting to see this nomination process. Some people going with lesser valued players, considering a Davante Adams is still there, James Conner, a Le'Veon Bell, Julio is still there, Odell is still there. But instead we see an Adam Thielen. So, it's a possibility of wanting to go ahead and try and get your preferred player early on. I will say sometimes that can backfire in auction drafts, so watch out. Now, Davante Adams here, nominated for $60 is the winning bid. That is way too high. I love me some Davante Adams, but he just went for RB1 kind of price. I think that's a little way too high. I think it was a computer bid. Let's see if that's the case. That kind of makes sense. Yeah, I believe so. So this guy here that landed Davante Adams, he got Davante Adams and Ezekiel Elliott, and right now he's going to have the winning bid on James Conner. So he's got 3 picks, and he's going to have afterwards $23 left. And with his 3 picks, he's got Davante Adams, Zeke, and James Conner. That's a hell of a combination, but some of those guys definitely a little bit risky. If you're spending that much money in your first 3 picks, I'd go ahead and try and get some more surefire names. I love Davante Adams, but he overpaid for Adams without a doubt. Zeke, $62, that's not bad value. James Conner, $55. I think a lot of people kind of might have James Conner labeled as a guy that could potentially decline the season with the presence of a Jalen Samuels and how good of a pass catcher he is. So do keep that in mind. If you're going to be drafting guys that are that expensive early on, the less question marks they have, the better. And I'd say, at least with us, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, they don't have too many question marks. So I'm okay with that, Le'Veon Bell, just $63, $64. There's going to be, wow. Talk about another guy that's David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell have gone up in value as of late. And again, it makes sense. These are established guys. The New York Jets adding some help on the offensive line. Nice to see. I think the addition of Ryan Khalil as their starting center is going to be huge. Ryan Khalil retired last season after what was supposed to be his final season with the Panthers, then comes out of retirement, joins the Jets. I think he's still got a couple years left in the tank. He was always a great center when he was healthy. And I think he's going to be a very welcome addition. And, he's definitely not going to hurt that offensive line for the New York Jets. And that's going to help Le'Veon Bell. Aaron Rodgers just went for $21. Let's kind of look at how the rest of this league right now is doing in terms of their budgets. We've got someone at $23 that we highlighted. We've got a couple people, $76, $71. And then a good amount of people still at $200. 1, 2, 3, 4 individuals still at $200. We'll see if they're in it for the long game. We'll see if they leave and it becomes an auto pick type of situation. But it'll be interesting because, like I said, we're in it for the long haul. Don't expect a pick from our end for a while. And just, again, keep the same in mind. When you go this aggressive, this early on, you then have to practice patience. And you have to have a master session of a draft process in the later rounds with your later picks. So it's going to really test our strategies, our skills, and again, our budget management when it's all said and done. So Odell went for $57. Todd Gurley right now is up to $44. I think the value on Todd Gurley is really nice right now. I think he's undervalued. I do think, like I said, I've been saying it kind of from the start, I'd go ahead and Todd Gurley available in the second round in a snake draft. I'd absolutely take him. Him going here for $44, that is good value. I like that. So kudos to the person that landed him for $44. Let's see who that was. That was this guy right here. So he's got Patrick Mahomes, Le'Veon Bell, Todd Gurley, and George Kittle. Not a bad 4 starting player combo right there. Patrick Mahomes, obviously, Bell, definitely, as of right now, I'll say overpaid for Le'Veon Bell a little bit. George Kittle, I wouldn't spend that much on a tight end. I would have, saved some of that money and spread it out at the wide receiver position, at the flex position, because I think you can get a guy like a OJ Howard or Evan Ingram or Hunter Henry for like probably by the time they're up for bidding between like, let's say on average $15, and then he would have had 22, or if I'm doing my math right, yeah, $22 left over for someone on the wide receiver position. So I think that's a little bit kind of a misjudgment there if you go that aggressive early on some of those other skill positions, then doing it for the tight end, maybe not the smartest move. Dalvin Cook just went for $50. Look, I love me some Dalvin Cook, but wow, $50. That's what's going to happen though when a lot of people might be sitting on their money and the top-notch running backs have gone. You're going to start seeing people overbid for some of these mid-level talent guys. And that's really one of the biggest worries with auction drafts. All of a sudden, you're saying to yourself, yeah, I can still get really good value later on if I'm a little bit more conservative. But if all of a sudden you see multiple people going with that same mentality, you might very well end up overpaying more for that low-end RB1 than you would have if you tried to go ahead and get one of the elite running backs like a Kamara, like a McCaffrey, like a Barkley. So Julio Jones just went for $52, not bad. Travis Kelce is getting nominated right now, $57. No, wow, I'm at a loss of words at this point. That's way too high, if you ask me. I like Travis Kelce. I think he's going to be the number one tight end, but overpaying for him, I realize it's all about, how much you value that person. And in large part, the projected values and average costs don't mean that much. But when you're going over $10 and no one's even coming close to matching that, that's when it becomes a problem. That's when you're overpaying for a player that you could have gotten cheaper if you weren't that aggressive. So I just went ahead and nominated someone like Derrick Henry right now. I'm curious to see what's going to happen. And let's go ahead and see how this guy that just landed, Travis Kelce, how his team is doing. So he's got $70. He's got 3 players. Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones, Travis Kelce. No running backs yet. That is tough. His team is going to be really stretched thin later on at such an important position too. So I honestly like how we stand right now. We paid a pretty penny for our 2 guys. I'm going to keep saying it. It's tough. It puts us in a difficult situation, but now we can kind of go ahead and analyze some of these picks, see how these other individuals are drafting, are bidding, and maybe a little bit evaluate our chances to go ahead and get a later round steal when the time comes. Because the way some of these people are throwing around their money, I'd say we might have a good chance to get decent value at a decent price. So I'm kind of excited at the potential of how this might work out. Melvin Gordon just got nominated. This is going to be really interesting to see his price point. So right now the winning bid, $38. That's really good value for Melvin Gordon. Obviously the big if is if he plays the entire season, but that's going to be the winning bid as it stands right now. I would have gotten in on that, but that would have handicapped us just to an absolute even bigger extreme than we were at already. We need to address the wide receiver position. We've got our running backs. So as much as I love Melvin Gordon going for $38, we couldn't get in on that. At least I don't think. So Melvin Gordon just went to this team right here, and his trio, Baker, Thielen, Melvin Gordon, not a bad trio. Again, with the quarterbacks, what happens when you nominate a quarterback early on is you're going to get really close to their max price, which there's no reason that should be happening in an auction draft. That's the nice thing about auction drafts. Usually, by the time quarterbacks start flying off the board, unless they're being nominated really early on, you can get very good value for them, which if you think about it, you can use against someone, you can make someone overpay for a quarterback early on. If there's a quarterback like, let's just go ahead and say a Patrick Mahomes, because we know he's going to be the most expensive guy, that you think, geez, he's being overvalued too much. I can go ahead and get an Andrew Luck or a Matt Ryan or a Cam Newton, someone like that later on for a much better price. So I'm all right not getting Patrick Mahomes. And instead, you see your opponent forking up almost $30 for Patrick Mahomes. That's not bad. So you go ahead and cause someone else to fork up that money when you know you're going to get a discount at the quarterback position later on. So Joe Mixon just went for $50 after Melvin Gordon. Again, makes sense. Joe Mixon is one of these end of the first round, early second round running back ones. He's unfortunately been trending in the wrong direction through no fault of his own, honestly. It's been injuries, retirements on the offensive line, and then the injury to AJ Green, which probably going to focus more defensive attention now to Tyler Boyd and to Joe Mixon. But I still think Joe Mixon is incredibly talented, and I'd want to go ahead and have him on my team. Juju Smith just went for $47. Pretty decent value. Damien Williams, $48. A lot of people kind of worried about Williams with the lingering hamstring issue. That'll be yet another running back to keep our eyes on. It seems like there's so many big name running backs or running backs on very good offenses that we have to go ahead and monitor heading into our drafts, because, right now, mid to late August and early September, that's prime time fantasy draft season. So we have to keep active in terms of looking out for NFL news on these big names, whether it's Zeke, whether it's Melvin Gordon, whether it's Todd Gurley, Damien Williams. We all know the names at this point in time. Zach Ertz just went for $32. Deshaun Watson before that went for $19. So, let's go ahead and check back on how we're doing here compared to our competition. So officially now, no one has $200. Everyone has spent some type of money. So the person with the most money right now is sitting at $168. The next closest $160, then $150. So I think we'll be in a good position. I really do think that'll be the case. Tyreek Hill right now is being nominated, $39, $40. I think that number will go up a little bit because Tyreek Hill, not bad value. Juju Smith for $47. Tyreek Hill, I don't think the separation will be all that much. Now, obviously, since it's half-point PPR, I do think Juju Smith is more valuable. If it were standard, I would value Tyreek Hill a little bit more so than I do in my PPR rankings, where I think I have him either 7th or 8th overall. I think it's 7th overall. But obviously, he's on a great offense with a great quarterback, and we know he's not going to be suspended. So $43 for Tyreek Hill, who's going to be a wide receiver number 1. Whether he has regression or not bad value. That's the bottom line. So we're going right along, and now all of a sudden you start to see some not as big names. A Calvin Ridley. We kind of pointed it out with Thielen before, but Ridley is one of these guys that not quite on the level of Adam Thielen yet. He's only a sophomore. But see, this is the problem when you nominate one of these guys this early on. There's still people with a lot of money, and they can go ahead and reach that projected value price and go over it comfortably. And again, it doesn't help. This is the one drawback of being with computers. They automatically upbid and go at least to the projected value, if not over it. So it kind of puts you out of some bidding situations. But that's why when it's all said and done, you need to have backups at every position. If you don't land your top choice, have a second choice, have a third choice, have a fourth choice. We've mentioned it a bunch of times before. That's one of the best things you can do, whether it's an auction draft or a snake draft. You always need to have backups. You don't want to go ahead and potentially miss out on a great player because you were too busy deciding who to draft, who not to draft, evaluating your funds. So you have to keep track of everything. The draft is a fluid process without a doubt. Marlon Mack right now, winning bid $27. Not bad. That would be a somewhat good value on Marlon Mack, whose average cost is $30, projected value $36. So good snag there by one of these guys. And let's see how many other people, I'm curious, have actually less money than us. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people have less money than us. It's kind of insane. Almost half the league has less money than us, and we landed Kamara and Christian McCaffrey. So I think we're doing all right. Again, I'm pretty happy with the way this has started. Mike Evans right now going for $39. I like that value for Mike Evans. I think with all the drama that Antonio Brown is having, I'm starting to lean towards having Mike Evans above him in my rankings. And so Mike Evans for $39 is something that is very attractive to me as far as a pricing point. Now, let's see, the guy that went ahead and got him is right here. So he's got Antonio Brown, Mike Evans, and Nick Chubb. Interesting trio right there. We just mentioned Antonio Brown. Nick Chubb, $52. He'll probably be a player that kind of has his price go up because of the Duke Johnson trade to the Texans. But again, I don't care whether Duke Johnson was on that team or not. It still doesn't change the fact that Kareem Hunt is going to come back once the suspension ends. And when that's the case, he is still the best running back on that team. He's a better pass catcher. He's as good, if not a better runner than Nick Chubb. So I really do think you're going to see Nick Chubb's value take a big hit at that point in time. But until then, hey, at least you can take solace in that you have a legit RB1 for 9 and 10 weeks. So best case scenario for all Nick Chubb owners, I'm still standing by this, is that Kareem Hunt gets hurt and he never plays for the Browns, but we'll see. Leonard Fournette right now, $24. I think that's very good value for Leonard Fournette. And again, if I hadn't picked those two running backs, because I need to address the wide receiver position, I would have jumped on Leonard Fournette for $24. I think he's going to have a bounce back year. I think he's an underrated pass catcher, and in PPR formats, he's going to be a very pleasant surprise. So Leonard Fournette for $24, a great steal in terms of value, if you ask me. Because let's look at some of these other guys. I've got Leonard Fournette kind of in the same group of players as an Aaron Jones, as a Devonta Freeman, as a Kerryon Johnson. Kerryon Johnson, another guy who has had his price, his value kind of go up. You see Aaron Jones just went for $15 more than Leonard Fournette. I like Aaron Jones, but I don't think he's going to have that much better of a season than Leonard Fournette. I think they're going to be comparable. In snake drafts, you kind of see them go in a similar type of range, early to mid third round, depending on the platform you're using. So again, that's why I go back to it. I think Leonard Fournette for $24, very good value. So those are the type of values you want to go ahead and keep an eye out for. That's why you're doing these mock drafts, to try and see whether your respective platform is undervaluing or overvaluing a certain player. If we were doing a balanced draft strategy, Leonard Fournette would have been a name that I had circled and marked for a target for our team. Keenan Allen right now going to go for about $40. So again, we're getting to that point where more and more time is passing, and we're kind of sitting pretty, honestly. Right now, the person with the most amount of money is at $150. Then afterwards, $110. But after that, we've got 92, then 76. We're at 61. We're not that far off. So I like where we're at, guys. The guy with $76 has DeAndre Hopkins, Saquon Barkley. So again, that's a really good combination. This could fall very well into the category of what we're doing, except the only difference is we went with two of the top 4 expected fantasy players who are both at the running back position. But again, DeAndre Hopkins expected to, by a lot of people, to be the #1 wide receiver, so he does qualify for that. It'll be interesting to see what other running backs that team is able to land, though. because I'd say there's a big fall off after Freeman and Kerryon Johnson. So right now, let's see. Amari Cooper went for $40. Man, I think that's a little bit of an overvalue for Cooper, considering Keenan Allen just also went for $40, and I'd much rather have Keenan Allen than Amari Cooper. So that's kind of my judgment there. Devonta Freeman just went for $34. Okay, and let's see who's going to be the next player nominated. Mark Ingram. Very interesting player with Mark Ingram. A lot of people think he can be a steal, potential RB1 on that Ravens run-heavy offense. Me personally, that Ravens offense really scares me with Lamar Jackson under center, a guy that is not polished as a passer, and he's so one-dimensional. I think that entire offense is so one-dimensional, and if defenses stack the box and force Jackson to beat them with his arm, I think Mark Ingram could really suffer in terms of production. And then what's going to happen with Gus Edwards? The Baltimore Ravens have kind of had a rotating combination of running backs these last few seasons. Is Mark Ingram going to put an end to that finally, or are we going to see him come off the field in favor for one of those guys? He just went for $27. And again, he went for more money than Leonard Fournette. And I think because Fournette went for $24, if I remember correctly, I think we would all, go ahead and prefer maybe Leonard Fournette over Mark Ingram. At least I would. So again, I keep going back to this. Look for those value picks, circle them, mark them, target them. Chris Godwin just went for $29. And let's see this individual that still has $150 left. They drafted Dalvin Cook. So they're patient. They're probably looking at some of these value picks and thinking, they'll load up on that on these guys. So that's probably at this point in time our biggest competition to getting good value guys later on. Excuse me, but maybe after a couple moves and it looks like this guy is targeting Stephon Diggs, might be a little bit of a Minnesota Vikings fan if he continues to try and rack up Vikings with Dalvin Cook and Stephon Diggs. Now, that's the case. Diggs and Dalvin Cook now on that same team, but that's all right. Let's see with some of these other names. I'm gonna let you guys know who I'm targeting. Julian Edelman, if we can get him, I would love that. If we can get Cooper Kupp, that'd be great. Tyler Boyd as well. Let's keep scrolling down. Alshon Jeffrey. Let's see. Will Fuller, I'd be happy with that. Dante Pettis. James White, even though he's a running back. Let's see. The list keeps scrolling down. AJ Green right now, only for $9. Wow. Definitely, I think AJ Green should be devalued because he's going to miss a couple of games at the start of the season, whatever that means. But depending on how late he's going in drafts, and again, but with him, you almost have to assume that he's going to get injured again, which is so unfortunate. If he doesn't get injured, you can get potentially very good value for AJ Green. Kerryon Johnson now being nominated. He's at $29, $30. So he's an interesting name. Then we might have a little bit of a bidding war here. $31. But I think that'll probably be the winning bid for Kerryon Johnson. $31. Yep, that was the case. So let's check back on our big board. We're sitting at $61. So most people at this point in time have at least 3 or 4 players on their roster. So from that perspective, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. And again, that'll happen. That'll tend to happen when you're that aggressive that early on. So don't be afraid if you find yourself in this situation. It's normal. It really is, because it's just how it's part of the budget management. So we're gonna see some of these guys get a little bit less aggressive as they go on and as they fill out their roster. Robert Woods, I would have liked him, but for $29, it's not something that we can afford. So we continue to move on. Let's go ahead and nominate Allen Robinson. I just want to see someone spend money on him, because I'm not interested in him. Yep, right from the start we see someone bid $20. So I'll go ahead and put myself in a situation to have more funds than this team that's bidding on Allen Robinson at this point in time. No problem with that. So let's count out the amount of teams that we have more money. First two teams, both at $17. They've got 5 people on their roster, so they're obviously in a better situation from that perspective. Next two people, $23, $25 respectively. Man, I really like this team actually. Tyreek Hill, Keenan Allen, Aaron Jones, Zach Ertz, Chris Godwin. That's a nice little team there, but $17 left. We're not going to have, or this person's not going to have too much money to play around with their bench or their second running back spot, which is so important considering you only have one running back and it's Aaron Jones at this point in time. But I'm, probably this individual right now you could classify as having gone with a balanced strategy, or maybe a little bit more, somewhere between balanced and aggressive. But then let's see these next two guys, $23, $25, $16 now, then $45, $27. Guys, we are now in second place in terms of funds. That's how quickly that can happen. We've only got one other person with $118. I'm just going to nickname them the Minnesota Vikings fan who has got Stephon Diggs and Dalvin Cook. We'll see if they are a adversary to us when it comes to bidding. But Tyler Lockett right now going to probably go for right around $20, $21, as you can see. But I'm all right with that. I'd rather have a Brandon Cooks. I'd rather have a Julian Edelman. I'd rather have a Cooper Kupp. Tyler Boyd also falls in this category. So I like what's going on right here. Other people spending big money for some of these wide receivers, running backs that I'm not necessarily interested in. So Josh Jacobs right now getting nominated. He's going to be another guy that, goes for low to mid 20s. So I'm okay with that. So I think we could potentially get some good value still on some other running backs. So Chris Carson, I think we can get some pretty good value on. I said James White before. So what really matters here and what's going to dictate whether this draft is a success or not is how we do at the wide receiver position, because we went so running back heavy early on. So we really need to land one of these wide receivers here, whether it's Kenny Golladay, Brandon Cooks, Julian Edelman, some of the names that we've mentioned, and we need to get depth at that position. So we're going to see a couple of bench spots be filled out right here. And that's all right. That's what you need to do. So Andrew Luck right now getting nominated, $19. And again, I'm just telling you guys, be patient with the quarterback position. You're going to see that play out in your favor later on. And you'll only be spending, between $5 and $10 for your quarterback. So I definitely think that's the way to do it at the quarterback position. So Kenny Golladay just got nominated. Let's see. We can go ahead and maybe get in on this bidding a little bit. But $19. Do we want to go ahead and do this? We potentially could. But I'd rather go ahead and get some kind of Brandon Cooks, Julian Edelman combination going on. So I'll go ahead and kind of save my money for something like that. And see how successful we are in doing so. And in the meantime, hopefully our connection gets reestablished here, and we're able to bid on some of these players. Kenny Golladay just went for $19, and as you can see right now, we've gotten to that latter point where you're going to get good value for these players. So this is where we strike. This is where we go ahead and really construct the other part of our roster. So if Brandon Cooks or Julian Edelman are nominated here, which that won't, it might be the case. We'll see. Steven Gostkowski. We're not going to be bidding on a kicker right now, so we can go ahead and just ignore that. And continue to look at some of our wide receivers. So I'm just going to queue up some of these guys. Let's go ahead and do that. Will Fuller, Alshon Jeffrey, Cooper Kupp, Julian Edelman. Let's see, are there any of the other guys? Tyler Boyd, I'll add to this list. Evan Ingram, I wouldn't mind adding to the list. Dante Pettis potentially, James White definitely, David Montgomery about to go for $19, $20. So let's look at some of these other wide receivers later on. AJ Green was a name that we mentioned potentially. So the list goes on. Larry Fitzgerald could have, I think, a low-key decent year. I'm going to go ahead and start bidding on Brandon Cooks. Let's see. $3. We'll see what happens here. We could potentially get a steal, guys. Well, I thought we could, but maybe we can't because it has gone up to 18, 19. Are we going to see a little bit of a bidding war on Brandon Cooks all of a sudden now? All right, well, I'll stay out of it. That's okay. We've still got other potential suitors, potential contenders. I just added Sterling Shepard. I like someone like an Emmanuel Sanders. I think could be some really nice value. A MVS, I think, is also very good value. So let's go ahead and add him to our queue. Let's add Emmanuel Sanders to our queue. And obviously these are guys, some of them with question marks. But again, that's what happens. You have to target some of these guys to an extent and see what happens. Mike Williams right now being nominated. You know, he's a guy that probably a lot of people are saying, why aren't you targeting him? But I just think Mike Williams in PPR formats, in my eyes, loses value in a decent amount. I can't, in good conscience, put up this type of money for a guy that had 44 receptions last season. He's just not as consistent. I think Hunter Henry is going to have something to say about all these projections with Mike Williams set to just to explode. So let's see what happens here with Julian Edelman. I'm going to go ahead and get in on this and really try and get Julian Edelman. I know we're going to have to overpay a little bit, but you know, I think Julian Edelman right now is is definitely the best wide receiver still left. So I'm really hoping $19 will be enough. I really am. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, there we go. So we landed Julian Edelman. All right. So I like that. We're at $42. That's tough. Let's see what our max bidder right now is. It'll probably be $31. Yep. It's not pretty, but we're hoping to get some good deals on some of these players. I knew I was going to probably have to pay a little bit more for one of these wide receivers. I'm okay with that. And like I said, I think things will work themselves out with some of these other names. And looking at how this bidding process is going. So it's our turn to go ahead and nominate a player, right? No problem. Let's go ahead and nominate a Robbie Anderson. I'll go ahead and nominate Robbie Anderson, see if anyone is willing to bid some money on him. And right now, yep, we have a taker at $14. And again, the reason I'm maybe not so high on Robbie Anderson, purely because I'm still not sold on that Jets offense. Sam Darnold, you know, I think he's still got some room for improvement. So for that reason, I'm kind of holding back on that Jets offense other than Le'Veon Bell. And even still, I've got some question marks about Le'Veon Bell because even though I do like the addition of Ryan Khalil, there's still some other holes on that Jets offensive line. So I'm trying to be a little bit cautious. Vance McDonald is about to go for $1. Very good value right there. But I've got another target in mind for the tight end position. It's going to be either Evan Ingram or a Greg Olsen at this point in time. Maybe even a Hunter Henry. We'll see. But great value for Vance McDonald. Absolute great value for $1. Honestly, I should have gotten in on that. But it's okay. Let's see what our next bid or nomination is, I should say. So at this point in time, we have got officially the most money left. But we've also by far got the least amount of players on our roster. We've only got 3 individuals. Cooper Kupp just got nominated. I'm going to go ahead and try and land Cooper Kupp. So I'm going to bid $4. And yeah, it's going to be a process here, folks. We're going to have to put some effort into getting him. The question becomes, how much are you willing to pay for a Cooper Kupp? And we see him going for 14, 15. Oof, that's really going to handicap us a little bit. Should I do it? I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. We might regret that a little bit. We'll see. It's all right. Well, $16. I'm not gonna get any higher than that. I'll be all right getting some type of combination of Tyler Boyd, Alshon Jeffrey. We'll rely on that. That's what we're gonna end up doing. We might be kicking ourselves in the head a little bit depending on how some of these other players go for, but I think that was probably at the end of the day the smarter move, especially if we want to get depth on our bench and get a decent tight end. We'll see how that works out, though. We'll see how that works out because, oh no, so I made a mistake. There's still someone with $44 left, but if they win this bid on Sony Michel, which they did, we now, I can say officially, actually have the most money left available. So Tyler Boyd, you better believe I'm going to go hard at Tyler Boyd. Chris Carson, let's see. Chris Carson's a guy that I've noticed in auction drafts can go for for a smaller amount of money, and he's by far, I think the running back that holds the edge in the Seattle backfield. So let's look at this guy because he's being aggressive with his picks, which I like. With his bidding, I should say. He's got Thielen, Allen Robinson, Melvin Gordon, Devonta Freeman, O.J. Howard, Mike Williams, Chris Carson. But he does not have much money left over. So Tyler Boyd just got nominated. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to go ahead and bid. Our goal is to land Tyler Boyd, absolutely. That is the goal here, folks. Let's see if we're successful in it. 8, 7, 6, 5. Damn it. All right. Let's let this thing wind down a little bit and then bid on him again. We're going to have a little bit of a bidding war. Yep. Oh, Jesus. $12 all of a sudden from 7 to 12. Is that going to be the winner for the Tyler Boyd sweepstakes? You know what? Hell no. We're going in hot with $13. Let's see. Let's see what happens. I think we'll land him with $13. 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, sir. We got him for $13. Which isn't that much less than what Cooper Kupp went for, but, still in the long run, it can make a difference. We'll see. We needed that next wide receiver. We really did. So, let's see. I'm hoping Alshon Jeffrey is being undervalued a little bit. We're going to get a steal at some point in time on one of these wide receivers. Trust me. One of these guys is somehow going to go for $4, something like that. And it's going to be a much needed addition to our roster. But right now, we've got Julian Edelman, Tyler Boyd, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey. So obviously, you see the wide receiver position isn't nearly on the same level as the running backs. But Julian Edelman, he's as solid of a wide receiver as you could want. A wide receiver too, but still a solid wide receiver. Tyler Boyd, I think he can go ahead and potentially be in a good situation with AJ Green out. Evan Ingram just got nominated. So if we go ahead and bid on Ingram, that's really going to put us in a bind here. Oof, but I think it could set us apart. Oh, and I did not mean to do that. Because we just had a very fast double bid. So that's all right. We'll go ahead and pass on Evan Ingram. I'm all right getting Hunter Henry. I've got no problem. Hunter Henry probably will go for less than $15. And at this point in time, people are left with 17, 17, 23, 15, 11, 10, 17, 10, 7, 29, 16, 30. So we've got an advantage here. And DJ Moore, look, I like DJ Moore, but I also have Christian McCaffrey, and I'm going to try and get Greg Olsen. So I don't want to get too many Panthers on this squad. So I'm really not interested in DJ Moore at this point in time. Kevin really would have been a guy that I targeted, but he just went so early on. It's such a steep price that we can really afford that. So I'm okay again with being a little bit more patient. Now, hopefully this picks up a little bit. Most people have left the draft at this point in time. See, Hunter Henry just got nominated, $1, and we're gonna see some bidding going on him here, $9 potentially, and I'm thinking about whether I should go ahead and invest in him, and yeah, why not? Let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and put in a bid for Hunter Henry. $9. I think we said it. Evan Ingram went for $15. Hunter Henry for $9. I'll take it. I'll take it. I've got him as a tier 2 tight end. So Hunter Henry, not a bad value there. I know it puts us $20, so it limits what we can do. We can spend a max of $11 on our next bids, but this is what I'm really hoping happens here. Alshon Jeffrey can go for good value, and we can go ahead and get a nice steal there, but I'd potentially have to bid $10 on him. That is a lot. That is a lot. So I think we're going to end up staying out of the Alshon Jeffrey sweepstakes. Yeah. I probably would have done it if I hadn't drafted Hunter Henry. Probably would have done that. And in retrospect, I should have gone Alshon Jeffrey and then gone in a guy in Greg Olsen that I was saying before. But I can go ahead and grab Greg Olsen as a bench stash, and I think that could be very good value later on. So let's go ahead and like I said, we usually at this point in time, I'd be like, well, all right, we've got the core of our roster set, but just with the auction draft working the way that it does, and with us making the most of our funds, it's very important to try and really maximize on some of these selections. So let's nominate Will Fuller and see what happens. He's a guy on our list that hopefully we can go ahead and land, and not in one of these guys. Gosh, damn it. That's not what I wanted to see, but regardless, that's what happens. Going for $8 right there. Yeah, well, you know what? Let's go $9 right here. $9, that's going to win us. That's going to win us Will Fuller. It will. Yeah. And, yep, that lands us Will Fuller, so that fills out our flex spot. We're down to $11. Oh, boy. It's going to be tough. Our maximum bid is going to be $3 from here on out. Devontae Parker getting nominated. So we're gonna have to make some magic. We're gonna have to be creative here with our next picks. But we have got our starting roster filled out. You know, everything but the quarterback. Julian Edelman, Tyler Boyd, Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey, Hunter Henry, Will Fuller. So if you're someone that thinks, you know, in auction draft there's not much value in getting a deep bench, then maybe you like that. But personally, I do like to go ahead and have some options on the bench. So I'm gonna still try and get some of these guys that we marked up. Dante Pettis and James White. But unfortunately, right now we're not in a position to really be dictating the bidding process. So let's see what happens with D.D. Westbrook. Just got nominated. And watch, he'll be the guy that goes for $1 here, and the guy that goes for a steal, and that's exactly what's going to happen. I just have no interest in D.D. Westbrook. Otherwise, you know, I would have bid on him. But maybe a Tevin Coleman goes for decent value. I can get in on that bidding process. Cam Newton, I see. Kyler Murray still there. Carson Wentz, I like Carson Wentz. So we've got some options at the quarterback position and in other areas as well. Let these guys go ahead and get Tevin Coleman. I'm all right with that. We'll go ahead and get other guys later on. Obviously, we need some other running back options because, you know, we can't just be left with 2 running backs. Let's see who this other nomination here will be. It'll probably, okay, it's a quarterback, Russell Wilson. Is there going to be anyone that bids up that value? Oh, right away, $8. So that'll be definitely the winning bid for Russell Wilson. No one's going to get in on that. I don't blame them. So that's going to be the winning bid for Wilson. Now, as you can see, a lot of these guys are going to be over our budget, and we've put ourselves in this situation. We kind of knew that this is how it would happen. So it is what it is. We need to get depth at our bench because, you know, for the most part, our starting roster, it's okay. It's obviously, it's not even close. It's anchored by Kamara and Christian McCaffrey, but we need more wide receivers. We need more wide receivers in case Boyd, Edelman, and Fuller don't hit, because that's when we get in some serious trouble. Philip Lindsay for $6, great value. I think that's pretty decent. James White is going to be really interesting, the value that he goes for. Jared Cook just got nominated. We've got our tight end, so we're set. And let's see who could potentially challenge us for. There's only one person with $29 that has more money than us that could challenge us for someone like a James White. But I guess if you look at the max value people can nominate, we're at 3, and there's people that are at 5, and then obviously that other person at $21 with their max bet. So we've got a couple more nominations. We'll play this thing out and see how it goes. I'll try and get at least 3 more draft picks on the squad before we call it a day, and hopefully one of those guys will be a quarterback. Like I told you guys, the quarterbacks I'd be considering are Cam Newton, Carson Wentz. Probably Carson Wentz. Yeah, James White just got nominated. Well, let's go ahead and bid $3. If we can get James White for $3, I'll be ecstatic. I will be ecstatic if we can get James White. Nope. Well, so much for that. So much for that. Yep. The one of the 2 people that could outbid us did exactly that, unfortunately. And if that's going to be a steal. That is an absolute steal for James White. Wow. $5. If we were a little bit more patient with Will Fuller or Hunter Henry, we could have gotten James White. Kenyon Drake, oh man, his stock is not doing so hot right now with all the Kalen Ballage hoopla. Tariq Cohen's still there. He's an interesting name. I think he's got somewhat decent value in PPR formats, even though I think it's going to be the David Montgomery show in Chicago. Lamar Miller, interesting situation, but with Duke Johnson there, I just don't like the Texans running back situation. So it'll probably be one that I avoid. Let's see. There's, and at this point we get to the backups. We get to the rookies: Miles Sanders, Darrell Henderson. Let's see what other Austin Eckler could be an interesting choice depending on what happens with Melvin Gordon. That could be interesting. Let's continue to scroll down. Yeah, we don't have too many options at the running back position, folks. Yeah, we really don't. So we're probably going to go ahead and try and target Tariq Cohen. Try and get Tariq Cohen. Try and get Lamar Miller, even though I don't like that at all. I really don't. So Kyler Murray just went for $2. Great value. Christian Kirk just got nominated. Interesting. We'll see how much he goes for. $2. And the question here becomes, would you rather have Christian Kirk or Dante Pettis or a Sterling Shepard? I'd rather have an MVS or an Emmanuel Sanders than a Christian Kirk. So I'm not gonna get in on the Christian Kirk sweepstakes. That's all right. We'll have our choice of nominating a player here in a little bit after this nomination. And we'll go ahead and try and nominate, like I said, a MVS, because I think he's going to be a sleeper on that Green Bay offense and someone we could capitalize on. So I like to go ahead and get some value on him there. Now you're going to see the kickers and defenses go here with the rest of the spots just having to be filled out. So this is going to be normal right here. So let's go ahead and just nominate. You know what? You know who I want to nominate, actually? I'm going to go ahead and nominate. Yeah, we said we'll nominate. Let's nominate Emmanuel Sanders. Let's see if someone bids up for Sanders. $2, of course. So that's all right. We'll go ahead for $3 to see if something happens. I think Sanders could be a decent value. I really do in PPR formats. Reports are that he's looking good, and I'm willing to take a chance on that. At this point in time, you need to take chances the way we find our roster. So I think we'll land Sanders. Yeah, we do. So, but that puts us, not in a good situation with our remaining budget, because basically we are at $1, which means whoever we nominate, it basically means that we can't get anyone that someone else nominates. That's what that means. So that's the tough part here. Yep. So if it gets back to us, before it gets back to us, guys like Dante Pettis and MVS being nominated, that means we're not going to be able to get them. So with that being said, just because we're in this situation and we're going to have to wait so long for this nomination process, to take place. Let's go ahead and break down this roster, go over what we did right, what we could have done better. So we went Christian McCaffrey, Alvin Kamara early on, and we said, when you do that, you're going to put yourself behind the 8 ball. You're going to really have to make some magic happen later on. And I've done this before kind of on my own, and sometimes it's worked out better, sometimes it's worked out worse. AJ Green just went for $1 just to highlight that. Great value for him right there. But right now, this could have gone a lot better because even though we got Julian Edelman, I think let's point out the guys that I think we should have waited on and, potentially overpaid for. Hunter Henry, Will Fuller, definitely. Emmanuel Sanders, again, as well, because we put ourselves then afterwards in a situation that whoever we add to the roster has to be someone that that we nominate. And if someone bids them up, we can't get them. So unfortunately, that's the situation. Because if you're a guy like the guy that can still bid $17 right now, you can clean up on some obviously very late round talent, but with some upside. So honestly, right now, I'd give this roster just because we don't have running back depth, really, I got to give it at best a B-. Some people might say, oh, you've got Christian McCaffrey and Alvin Kamara. It's got to be a higher grade than that. But we could have. This is a good example where even though we got our 2 guys at the start, we could have done a better job later on. We could have gone with an Ezekiel Elliott instead of an Alvin Kamara and only paid $62 or whatever it was for him, and then have some more wiggle room right now. So there's some lessons to be learned from here. I like the Julian Edelman pick. We probably did overpay for him a little bit, but it's okay. The quarterback situation, it's not going to be ideal because, again, it has to come all the way back to us. And if Carson Wentz gets nominated before then, we're going to take a hit at that position. I'm going to go ahead and queue him up. We'll see what happens. But look, folks, again, this is the main downfall when you go with an extremely aggressive approach. And I'll admit, we could have done it better. We definitely could have. We could have waited a little bit longer on the wide receivers. We could have gotten another backup running back, and this could have gone a little bit better from that perspective. But all in all, we were able to at least fill out the roster so we can get a decent sense of what the core here would look like. Let me know what you guys thought. Is this an approach that you'd go ahead and try out? How would you adjust the approach to make it a little bit more successful? Or is this something that, it's too expensive, it's too tough to do, it doesn't leave you enough wiggle room, and depending on your leagues, you wouldn't be able to get away with getting some of these wide receivers later on? Let me hear it in the comment section, along with, your preferred auction draft strategies. That's what it's all about. Get a conversation going. And if you have any auction draft questions, let me hear them. Hopefully I'll be able to, provide some value in my answers. And as always, if you enjoyed, make sure to like, subscribe, and tune in for more types of these videos. We've still got probably a conservative draft video to do, so stay tuned.